Great.
Hi everyone, how are you? Uh, Welcome to my channel. And in this video, I'm going to uh, explain about how to set up the HTTP client service and how to make an AJAX calls or remote server API calls in Angular. So especially in Angular 18, there is a new concepts like a standalone components was introduced. Of course, this standalone components is already there in Angular 17. So from 17 onwards, the Angular team is promoting more on the standalone components. The new developments which are happening, they are officially recommending that. So make use of standalone components. So previously they use NG modules, but now the standalone components are getting very popular. There are few changes in the environment setup if you are using standalone components. So in this video, I'm going to address that how we can configure HTTP client and how to make a request to the server, especially under the environment of standalone components. So let's get started without wasting our time. And what exactly the HTTP client service? Let us have few quick points about that. So look at here. So basically the HTTP client service class, this is one of the predefined service class in Angular. So of course, Angular is providing number of service classes. So this is one of the predefined service class that allows the communication between client and server so that we can exchange the data between the client and server. As you all know, the Angular is a client-side technology or it is a front-end framework. So definitely it's supposed to depend on the server to get the data or to exchanging the data. So in order to making this communication, so we are going to use this HTTP client service class. And so obviously it uses the HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. So this help us for sending the request to the resources, basically identified based on the URI, uniform resource identifier, and later we'll receive the response from it. And this HTTP client service class provides all the required methods to communicate with the APIs. Like usually when you are working with APIs, CRUD operations related API methods are very popular, like get, post, put, delete. So the HTTP client services supports everything. Next, here I'll just want to give some briefing about the stepwise configuration settings. So how we are going to configure HTTP client service under standalone components environment. So number one, when we create a project in Angular 18, by default, it takes standalone components. So you can find a file called appconfig.ts file. So first we need to provide this HTTP client, in the provider section under app.config.ts. This is the first and most important step. Next remaining steps in the component. So we'll go to the component and the component decorator. So in provider section, so we have to inject our HTTP client class name or HTTP client service class name. And finally, we are injecting that instance of the HTTP client or the object reference in the components constructor. This is a dependency injection pattern that which we are following. And finally, we'll make use of that request object, our HTTP client object, and to make a request to the services, okay, and with the help of these get and post methods. And here is a small coding snippet. Next, we'll see the practically how we implement all these steps one by one. Look at here. This is a small coding snippet. So how we can make a request to the server. So this indicates that instance member, of course, whatever we injected in the constructor. So we can make them as a instance member with the help of the private keyword. So this .http obj, this is my HTTP client service object, and get is a method. And for this, we have to give the URL as a parameter. So the meaning is here we are making a request to this particular URL. So in this example, I'm sending the request to this URL, and subscribe is a method. So to handle the response which comes from the server. And here is a callback. So where I am receiving the response from the server, and that data, I'm going to store it in the array so that we can display into the program or in our component. So this is just a briefing that code snippet. Now we'll see in detailed how we can develop this example and the component that is going to communicate with the server using HTTP client methods. So let me uh, create one new component here. I'm already having a couple of components. So now I'm going to create one new component. NG, G stands for generate, C stands for component. And here I mentioned that the component name is called customer list. Customer list is my component name. And this is going to display the list of customers information which we are received from the server. So, so let us move forward. Yes, the customer list is added. And immediately go to your app component and try to access that customer list. Okay. So in standalone components, so whenever you are using any components in other components, obviously that import section is required. So which is automatically imported. Only thing is we have to save the TS file compulsory so that it will get reflected. And so go and check in the browser window. And this how my customer list component is going to display. Yes, it is saying customer list is unknown element. So just a second, make sure that, yes. Yeah, it's working. Just I'll refresh the page. So my customer list works. And now we'll concentrate on this is the first step after adding the customer list and try to call that in the app component.html. Now we'll move on to the customer list and HTML file and TS file, and also app config file, app.config.ts. So these three files we are going to work. So let me take you back to the steps which we have discussed. Right. Step number one, we have to provide HTTP client in app.config.ts. So here it is. We have to import from common/HTTP. And here is an option, provide HTTP client. And you have to call the method so that it is going to be inject and provide your HTTP client service in the background. So this is step number one, app.config.ts. So this is a project level. For one project is, one time is enough. For the rest of the things, we should take care in the components. And next, come back to the component.ts file. And step number two, so we have to add under provider section. So providers and HTTP client is a service class. This is step two. And step number three, add constructor and make as a private so that it is become as a instance member, and HTTP obj and HTTP client is the, the service class name. So this is a injection mechanism. And now, so this is step number two. Okay, step number three is injection. So first step, configure your TS file, app config, then provider section, injection. Now we are making a request to the service which is available in the server. Okay, the API. So we need a small setup for this, like we have design and the HTML part. Okay, and button click event. So those I just want to prepare. Just I'll show you a small coding snippet, so which is going to present the data to the user in with few HTML statements. Now look at here. I have taken one H3 tag, so communicating with APIs for heading, and here is a button for get customers. I am expecting this method should be defined. So first we have to create this method inside your component class. Let me make it as public. And here is a method. And inside this method, we are supposed to write the code. Now look at this. I just put one heading and a button to trigger the click event. So if you check the output in the browser, so here is an output. Now the button is ready, and let us move forward to write the code in this button. So let me take a URL here. So URL, and in this URL, so we are going to provide that URL. So for the time being, I'm going to take that customer's URL that from my W3 Schools website. It is a PHP, the API, which returns the data, customer's data in JSON format. I'm making use of that API URL, and now we'll make a request. So this dot HTTP obj dot get method. So this get method basically expecting a URL. So this is my URL, and make sure that you should provide the valid URL. And then we have to call the subscribe method, which is used to handle your response. Basically, all these methods of the HTTP object like get, post, put, delete, everything, all these methods returns observable, which is supports the subscribe method to handle the response. And here we can just take that response. I'm using a word called response data of type any. You can use any word there, either response data, or data, whatever you want, you can do. I'm just using res data, so that indicates it is a response data. And first and foremost thing is, so we have to cross check, are we able to get the data in your program? So are you able to get the data from the server? Are we able to connect the server and getting the data properly or not? That we need to verify. So before we are, moving on to the main presentation logic. So let me check it and open your console window and just click on this button. So we will receive the data, and that data should be displayed in the console window. So let me check. Uh, is there any issue? Yeah. So my data is ready. Yes, look at here. This is the records. Okay. Basically, this returns an object. That object is having a records property, which contains the array of 15. So around 15 customers details are available. Here records is a property. So if you want, you can check that. This is the data which I am checking into this example. So here is an object, and inside the object, there is a records property. So this is the confirmation, guys. So when you are writing any HTTP programming, first thing is you need to confirm, are we able to communicate with the server or not? So if this is failed, first we have to fix it, then you proceed forward. Okay. Now only in the console, there is no use. So we are supposed to display on the web page. So for that, I'm taking one array. So let me declare one variable called customers array, which is of type any. If you want strongly typed data, you can define a new class called the customer class, and that class you can use it here. And in this customers array, I'm going to store my information. This dot customers array equal to response data. Actually, response data is an object, which is not an array, that contains a property called the records. This records property is the array. Now that array I store into my customers array. Now what we'll do is we'll try to, finally, we are presenting that data in the table format. So I hope you guys know about how to display the data in table format. I'm just trying to make use of my static code, which I'm having here. Okay, okay, to make this process speed up, right? This is my header row. Okay, yeah, I'm also add my data row, right? So data row is main important. The rest of all is plain HTML. Okay, now all of you focus on the data row. Now you can see here star ng for, okay, let item of, so we can say customers array. So inside I'll create data, and the item is the each customer object, and will display the name. And similarly, there are two more properties, city and country. So please take care of case sensitive. The data is case sensitive. Make sure that the properties which you receive from the server, the same property names with the proper casings you should mention here. So then only the data will display. In case if you do any wrong or any mistakes, so definitely, so it is going to be use an error, right? Yes, there is one more issue here. Let me click on the refresh. So we'll see one error which is related to ng for Yes, it is expected error. Again, this is maybe if you feel strange, if you're already Angular developer before 17 version, in standalone components, so these dependent items we have to import separately. So ng for is belongs to common module. So we have to import that common module in the your component decorator. So this is a new change in the standalone components, especially in old versions. So we used to import all these things in the app module, but now in standalone components, we're supposed to import in the component itself. Right. So that is a fix for that ng for issue. Yeah, I hope that ng for is ready. And now if you finally we click on this button and we will receive the data from the server and that data. So we are expecting that on the screen. Yes. So our data is ready. So wonderful. And finally, I just want to add a little bit CSS for this to make your table is slight colorful. Okay, here I'm having a few styles. Okay, I just added some styles for this. Okay, just plain and basic styles. Okay, and based on the ID. So let me give ID for my table. That is ID equal to just table one. And according to the ID, I define the styles. Okay, just very basic styles for the table. And now if you go and check that in the browser, yes, I just use that black and white. Okay, and click Get Customers. So now we can see that alternate rows with the different colors. Cool. So this is the simple program, an example. Okay. So this is demonstrate how you can communicate with the API. So once again, I'm repeating before we closing this video. Number one, in app.config.ts, we have to configure it. And then in component, so we need to add in the provider section. Then we supposed to inject our HTTP client service, and then we are making a request. So this is approach which we are going to follow. And finally, we are present the data as per our convenient and apply the styles as well. So I hope this video is helpful to you guys. And if you like this video, so please like, share, and subscribe with your friends. Thank you and see you in the next video.